Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. I'm so glad that you're able to join today. We are so happy to have you guys, take time out of your schedule to be with us. We apologize for a bit of the delay. In the world of COVID-19, everything is virtual, so sometimes there are technological glitches, but we're up and running and we're ready to go. So welcome. Today, we are celebrating Black History Month featuring Black Entrepreneurs Youth Initiative, also known as BEYI. It is hosted by the Casa Foundation and Entrepreneurs Point in celebration of Black History Month. This afternoon, we are so glad that you guys took time out of your busy schedule to join us today to hear from some of the experts, part of the Exchange series, which is a digital series catered to young professionals of African descent and was launched last year in 2020 by Entrepreneurship Point in the advent of the coronavirus pandemic. Today's virtual event, like I stated before, it is in honor of Black History Month. Our history is not just 1 month, but in terms of just the historical implications of February, Entrepreneurship Point decided to take this opportunity to do this special series, part of its youth exchange. And it was put together by the Casa Foundation and Entrepreneurship Point just for a roundtable virtual experience where viewers today will obtain tips, lessons learned in the following themes: purpose and self-esteem for global impact, the role of mentorship and sponsorship in business and career, overcoming challenges in the pursuit of your goals and aspirations, and how entrepreneurs can become great entrepreneurs in the future. So this is going to be a jam-packed afternoon. So sit back, grab a snack, and welcome to the Black Entrepreneurs Youth Initiative, also known as BEYI. So before we begin panel session number 1, it is an honor and a privilege to be able to introduce the mastermind behind this entire initiative. She is one of my sheroes, and she is the host of today's event. Her name is Dr. Olutoyin Oyalade. Dr. Oyalade is not just a woman in leadership, she is a leader, period. She is the quintessential personification of the Canadian values of diversity, equity, gender equality, humility, integrity, and everything that she represents and everything that she sets her sights to achieve. Dr. Oyalade has seamlessly obtained over 2 decades of professional executive management and leadership expertise domestically as well as internationally. She also has an impressive academic background. For instance, she earned her bachelor's degree in philosophy from Ondo State University in Nigeria in 1989. And in 1999, she received an MBA from Nigeria's premier university of Ife. She also completed her executive management programs that sharpened the perfection of her leadership skills in executive management. Like, for instance, she is a graduate of Wharton School's Advanced Management Program, Lausanne's Business Marketing Program, and Lagos Business School's Senior Management Program. And in May of 2016, she successfully completed her doctorate degree in management and graduated from the University of Maryland. During her over 2-decade successful career in investment and corporate management expertise and her fulsome experience globally as well as within domestic markets back in Africa and as well as internationally across the United Kingdom. She oversaw funds management and client management operations of bank subsidiaries in the United Kingdom as well as in Ghana. Dr. Oyalade managed the Intercontinental Bank Group's, also known as IPG, fund portfolio of $8 billion, and she had the responsibility for fund investments as group executive of Bank's Investment Management Group between 2007 to 2010. And so what I exactly did was compact over a book worth of expertise this incredible woman has obtained over her years, and she has just started. And so without further ado, I would like to turn it over to our host for today's event, Dr. Oyalade.
Thank you so much, so very much, Jackie, for that kind introduction. I really appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, we once again want to apologize for the techie issues we had earlier on. We were really on top of that, but we just had to come to you and make sure that we keep to our promises of coming to you live today. And so do bear with us. It's such a honor, it's such a joy, and it's such a privilege to be here this afternoon addressing you all and welcoming you to the Black Entrepreneurs Youth Initiative. I am really honored to be here. And so we will save time, definitely, and we'll maximize the time, within the brevity of time we have, we'll present to you all of the insights that we have put together from all of these experts across vertical industry sectors. As Jackie said, my name is Olutoyin, and I work at IMCAP Corporation. IMCAP Corporation is an investment firm that, that serves entrepreneurs and startup businesses, businesses in their growth stage, looking for inroads into Africa, within the diaspora, also in North America, arranging funding and things like that. And so I also serve as the president of Casa Foundation, and Casa Foundation is the owner of EP Academy, bringing this event to you today. Casa Foundation is also a non-profit organization that empowers Black youths, women, minorities, and startup businesses in general. Through the works of Casa Foundation and Women Inspire, we bring together women in business and in leadership just to find their voice across, vertical sectors and across the larger divide and all the challenges that they face on a daily basis. And through the works of Entrepreneur Exchange, which is one of the other products of Casa Foundation, at a roundtable, we bring together youths looking also for mentors, for capital, and for other partners, initiatives, to create their own businesses, their own ventures, and the various things that they would love to do based on the ideas that they believe they want to push forward. And so it gives me great pleasure and honor to declare open this initiative, which is the latest initiative of Casa Foundation for International Development, and it's called the BAE. We just call it BAE, like a BAE, BAE, and it's a platform to address the needs of our aspiring entrepreneurs, young business owners. We do recognize your incredible work that you have put in over the years in the community, in the workplaces. And this is a shout out to all of you that are making impact out there. Today, you'll be getting to meet a lot of Black founders, Black entrepreneurs, Black executives, executives at the C-suite level who have actually made great impact in their various careers. Entrepreneurs who have created an initiative, and those initiatives are actually, they're doing very well, and also executives from the government sector. And so each of our speakers today, including Jacqueline, who just introduced me, will be introduced, they'll be introducing themselves. I'll just give them, the space, so we'll allow them to introduce themselves. I'm not going to talk too much about them. Today, we'll be talking largely about the pain points. And so what are these pain points? According to the PwC research, millennials and the Gen Z group lack the financial education that they need to thrive in today's world. This report came out in 2018, and the report found that over 40% of millennials rely heavily on costly payday loans and rent-to-own financing alternatives. More than 20% of our millennials and young entrepreneurs, they usually will make withdrawals from their retirement accounts even before time. Underrepresented Black youths also continue to face barriers in accessing lucrative opportunities for jobs, and also at the corporate level. And to make the matter, COVID, as you can imagine, COVID-19, the pandemic that we're all faced with at this point, has magnified also the disparities in our social, economic, and political systems. This has really impacted more of the Black businesses and Black entrepreneurs around the world, globally. And so we know that Black founders even face a greater burden, in part because of the structural inequality and all the other things that we're faced with, the systemic racism and all the barriers that we're faced with on a daily basis. But in response to these issues, particularly in Canada, for instance, the Prime Minister, as some of us might be aware, the Prime Minister announced about 5 months ago the Black Entrepreneurship Program, which targets Black young entrepreneurs and Black entrepreneurs across the divide. And the goal of this program is a 221 million fund to assist, to provide grants and so on to Black entrepreneurs. Now, what's in it for Black entrepreneurs outside of Canada? I'm sure we'll be answering a few questions in the course of our discussions today. So I will encourage you to invite all your friends to join us on our YouTube live streaming link. If you have it already, you can send it out to them so that we can share some of these initiatives with you, even as we hear our panelists speak to us today. Now, what is Black Entrepreneurs Initiative? So this is where I round up this afternoon, ladies and gentlemen and my friends. Black Entrepreneurship Youth Initiative will be addressing some of these issues. One, the lack of access to capital, the lack of access to effective sponsors and mentors and partners and structures in our community. So we have a lot of situations where some businesses, new businesses, are called upon to come on board as partners to various initiatives, lovely initiatives. However, because they do not have the structures in place, they are not able to see through such initiatives. Some of their ventures are not being approved because the structures are just not there. Supporting structures, partners, board, and so on. We need to talk about this so that we can move forward. In alliance with the Rising University and the Bridge at University of Toronto, Scarborough, and the Bridge, the Hub. These are various incubators. We have put together various programs. That's the Bay. And some of these programs will be initiated with the support of large organizations and institutions in the academia to make sure that some of these gaps are addressed. I'm going to pause here today because we know that we have a big day ahead of us. So I'm going to pause and allow the panels to start, and then some of the other insights and information that we have on how we can push the initiative of our Black entrepreneurs and Black founders forward. We'll be sharing it in the course of this discourse. Thank you so much for listening, and I wish you very useful deliberations, and welcome again to all our panelists. Thank you. And I am going to invite right now Ife to take over and start the panel sessions, because to save time, I had to cut my, my comments short. So I know that I would expect, let's just go on with it. I'll cut it short and then I'll put in a word here and there as we go on. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you for the introduction. So if we could just have our panelists come on and we'll have them introduce themselves, and then we will get started with the questions. Thank you very much. Kola, could you please turn on your camera so that we can see your wonderful face?
My apologies if it does say that the host has stopped my video from coming on. So,
okay, so if we could just deal with that, thank you. But in the meantime, we have our wonderful panelists, Jackie, Alaba, Natalie, and Kala up here. If you could just give us just a brief introduction of yourselves and what you do, and then we'll just get started. So let's start with Jackie. If you can start by introducing yourself, what you do.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Jacqueline Chiwanuka. I am a Ugandan Canadian. I am a senior policy and issues advisor for the government of Ontario. I've been, previously to this role, I've been a senior policy advisor as well as a business analyst in intergovernmental affairs. My background is a master's in public health with a concentration in global international health. And my first degree is an honors bachelor's degree in toxicology. So basically I'm a STEM kid at heart. And I'm just excited to be a part of this discussion. It's mentorship has been a ever so theme in my career development and where I am today. And so I'm really looking forward to engaging with my co-panelists. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. And let's take it over to Alaba. If you just give us a brief introduction of yourself. You're currently muted.
Hi everyone, my name is Alaba. I'm an entrepreneur and ecosystem builder. I also run Business Africa Online and Studying Rich, and our goal is to support African entrepreneurs, amplify what they do, and also tell their stories to the world. Business Africa was founded in 2016, same with Studying Rich, and it's all about telling the African stories as it is as it is and changing the negative narrative about Africa, basically. I look forward to the conversation.
Thank you so much for that. And I'll just pass it over to Natalie.
Hello, everyone. I'm Natalie Kembu, and I am the founder of Evolve Media Holdings. We equally have a business magazine, Evolve Magazine, which I suppose you must have heard of. I am a communication professional, and I currently consult for the African Union Development Agency. I love working with young people. I empower them on the daily basis, and I am interested in anything that can move them forward. I look forward to our exchange today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We're so excited to have you here. And Kola, just take it away.
Thank you, Ife. Just as excited as all the others, I'm Kola Akintayo. I'm in the world of human resources and people. I work for a company called Oceaneering based in Aberdeen in Scotland in the United Kingdom. And I am currently the head of Europe, Middle East and Africa region for human resources. It's my privilege to live out my purpose on a daily basis, working with people and building people up. So I've worked internationally and locally in the UK for close to 18 years. So very excited to be part of the panel tonight. Thank you for having me.
Very excited for you to join us. So again, those are our wonderful panelists, and thank you for introducing yourself. Our audience is so excited to have each panelist, youth of African descent, representing different parts of the globe and giving us this huge opportunity to be able to have these conversations with you. Just to let you guys know, my name is Ife. I will be the moderator today. And to all our participants and audience, this is a live question and answer session, and you will have the opportunity to ask the panelists questions. Remember, if you do want to ask a question, please leave them in the chat box below on the YouTube. I will pick them, and our team will also address some of your questions as we go along and add resources if needed to the chat box. So let's get this conversation flowing. So I want to start with you, Kala. How does it feel to be a young Black C-suite in your 30s at Oceaneering, you said? How do you encourage employees to become entrepreneurs as head of global HR? And for the people who might not know what an entrepreneur is, it's just a manager within a company who promotes innovative development. So I'll pass that on to you, Kala.
Yeah, I don't think you want to be here all day, Ife. So how does it feel, to be in that world? I suppose for me, it starts with purpose. It starts with very much understanding with good clarity why I do what I do. I think for me, that has been extremely important. In almost resetting every time I am thrown curveballs or thrown sudden surprises or the natural inclination to throw in the towel when the going gets tough is remembering that whole real purpose and placing that effectiveness before some of the other things that I have to do. To your question around entrepreneurship, I like to really reference today a message that has stayed with me over the years. And that's really around all of us, every day of our lives, will have two choices, right? We can pay up front and pay now and play later, or we can do the opposite, play now or pay later, right? So I think it's needless to say that paying now and playing later is where we all want to be. We want to pay up front. That always yields the desired results. And I think it's the same for entrepreneurship. Is as an entrepreneur, you want to start paying right now. You want to start paying upfront. And there are a number of ways to pay upfront, right? There's so many ideas out there. I'm sure my fellow panelists are going to step in, but I'll try to touch on maybe two, just in the interest of time. I'll start by saying it's all about people. That's easy for me to say because I am in the field of human resources, but it is truly about people. I think, you need to leverage the power of people, leverage the power of teams, connect with people, and be authentic and true. It's so easy to say, but it's an intentional focus to really develop the ability to care for people, to connect with people, and to network with them, and to help them as a leader realize their potential. A number of ways to do that is, to make sure that your say-do ratio is very high. So if you say you're going to do something, be credible, be reliable, truly care for people and be authentic. I think, being likable, people really do forget that your attitude genuinely determines your altitude. So, if you want to go far and you want to go up, you have to be likable. You have to understand that the more offensive you are, the more defensive people will be. And the more abrasive you are with others, the less persuasive you will be. So all of these are very important in terms of the people and the leadership development side. The second thing I'll finish on tonight on this question is really that idea of growth, cultivating a growth mindset. And I want to take the opportunity to make a clear distinction between growth and performance, because I think many of us concentrate on performance, which is important. You have a job or you have a task and you want to do it well. Very important, very critical. But performance talks to what I do and my current kind of sphere of influence, whilst growth talks to potential. It talks to going outside my comfort zone and operating outside of my swim lane in order for me to expand my capacity, in order for me to stretch myself to do things that I'm not necessarily equipped or skilled to do right now. So that's how entrepreneurs can grow, is put yourself forward for what we like to call stretch assignments. They are called stretch assignments because they stretch us. They give us the visibility, they stretch us. And I'm not by any means advocating that we try to do absolutely everything, because of course, no one knows it all. There will be times that we have to go back to our kind of 3B principle to buy the expertise or to build the expertise or to borrow the expertise, all of these things. But overall, as part of that commitment to growth, not just performance, it is important to stretch.
Wow. Thank you so much for that answer. Honestly, I think that say-do ratio is something I'm going to add to my vocabulary and actually apply in my daily life. So thank you for that amazing answer. Now, I want to open up the floor to our panelists with this next question. And the question is, how has your purpose, mission, and values shaped your journey? And I understand it's kind of an open-ended question, but I think this is really an opportunity for not just me, but our viewers to really know each of their panelists and the journey they've gone through. So Jackie, if you want to start it off.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very loaded, very in-depth very in-depth question, right? Because it's so abstract. And I think we're always trying to unpeel our purpose on this journey called life. I think in times, I know for myself, and my purpose is still starting to crystallize, but it can get very frustrating when you have all this energy as a young professional, just out the gate out of school, and you want to contribute, but you really don't have the guidance or the foresight on how to navigate torrential waters in the whole corporate scene, and what are these unspoken rules that people may not necessarily tell you, but because of lived experience, you might wind up being a case study of it. But for me personally, my purpose starts on the foundation of my faith and who I am first and foremost, right? And understanding who I am when it comes to how God first and foremost sees me, And then from that, how I'm able to take the giftings and the skills that he has deposited in me and things that have really bothered me about things that I want to solve, most times is really rooted in your purpose. A lot of things that you come across on the day-to-day things that you think that, why is this happening? Or why can't they do A? It's like very simple to you, but maybe complex to others. More so is because you're probably going to be the solution to that particular issue or problem in the world or in your sphere of influence. So for me, your foundation on who you are, your values, your integrity, and Kola, beautifully talked about that. Say what you mean and mean what you say. People are watching. I didn't realize this until a mentor told me that, Jacqueline, don't be, you're going to work, you're doing your thing, but people are watching. People want to know who's that next big leader. People want to be inspired. People want to be encouraged, right? And so for me, who you are, what are your values that are unwavering, that are non-negotiable? And at times you're going to be coming across situations where you can take the easy route. You're seeing people take the easy route, but in your heart, it's not the way you want to go about it. And you're probably seeing people fly past you. People that may not necessarily even have the skills or the education that you have, but you've decided to take a stand on who you are. And it may be longer, but the most important thing, it's sustainable and it's longevity. And so for me, that has always given me the encouragement that as long as I know I'm doing the right thing, and sometimes you may be in meetings where you're going to have the unpopular comment, but it's the right thing to do. Obviously using strategy and strategic, and also getting advice and advisement from mentors and people that you can trust to bounce back ideas. But it's really about what is your personal brand and what do people want to know you as? Because at the end of the day, people are watching, people are talking. And at the end of the day, you have to be very confident in who you are as a person. And that comes into the question of self-esteem and understanding that you're the only one that can do what you do. Don't try to carbon copy someone else's ways of doing things, the way you talk, the way you look, the way you talk with your hands like me. I talk with my hands a lot. So these are things that come with who your personal brand is, right? And then once you're able to fully understand who you are and love yourself for the way you are and how you're created, it's just a matter of time, but more so tapping into sponsors, people that have gone before you, that you trust, that are able to give you nuggets of, or what I would call gems of wisdom, to guide you on this trajectory. Because in court, I can only speak because I'm not an entrepreneur yet, but in the career world, I have been blessed. I don't know, it's been divine intervention, to be honest with you. People that have come out of nowhere, see something in me and pull me aside and say, hey, there's something in you, but I need to tweak, I need to help you fine tune this or fine tune that. And it has really been the launching pad on where I am today, and so my biggest encouragement to all the viewers out there, particularly the young professionals that came out of school, or right now you're in between jobs, you're in a job that you didn't go to school for, which was me for about 3-4 years, and you're kind of a bit frustrated and you're wondering, I went to school and I did all this and I've dedicated all of this and I don't see the fruits of my labor. It's coming. The most important thing is continue to put yourself out there, continue to network, continue. Also, the biggest thing that I would say is the universal principle of generosity. When you pour into people, when you're in need, it will come back to you. And so when you have a gifting, it may not be financial, but it could be your raw innate talent that you can dedicate time to put into someone else's life. That's a seed that you've just sown. Start sowing, because the harvest is going to come and it's going to blow your mind. And so that's my biggest takeaway for everyone, is stay true to who you are. Forget about what other people are doing. Forget about what, some people may, colleagues and just conversations. Oh, if you want to get here, you have to do this, you have to do that. As long as you know who you are and you're doing the right thing, stay in your lane, because it will definitely serve you. And most importantly, be generous to the gifts and talents that God has put in you, because you will never know the life that you're touching, that could be the same person that will open a door 3-4 years ago. And I know, and it's something that I'm now realizing why generosity is such a powerful tool, is to help humanity and help each other. And I'll just leave it there. But yeah, it's one of my purpose, destiny, mission, values. It's a life journey that you're continually having to figure out who you are. But the most beautiful thing is, the point that you can go to bed knowing you've done the right thing every day and you've given your best. And I'll leave it at there. I'll leave it there for now.
Wow, Jackie, honestly, I couldn't have said it better than you just did. And honestly, it's like the saying goes, if you have a great foundation, then whatever is going to be built on it is going to stand strong.
That's right,
So,
honey.
yep. So just for the time, I'm going to go to the next question. And now I know we have a lot of entrepreneurs in the audience. I actually have a question from someone in the audience who would actually love to know, what role does mentorship and sponsorship play in career development and advancement? And I want to pass this question over to our entrepreneurs in the house, Alaba and Natalie, if you want to come in over here and answer the question.
Okay. Hello, maybe you can hear me now.
Yes.
Can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, awesome. Would you mind taking over the question again? I missed something else.
Yes, of course. So someone in the audience basically asked, what role does mentorship and sponsorship play in career development and advancement? So how can they use mentorship or sponsorship to their advancement?
I think it actually plays a key role. There's a Chinese adage, if I'm not mistaken, that says, if you want to go somewhere, talk to someone who's been there and back. Mentorship plays that role. It enables you to talk to someone who has been on a journey and back, who knows every hurdle on the way and can guide you to either play through them, pivot, or do something else that will enable you to thrive. So I think mentorship plays a key role. You need to always have someone to guide you through key questions. As an entrepreneur, it's a very difficult journey. You're alone on it, and a mentor is the only guide that you have, which means in difficult moments, when your friends don't understand you, family does not understand you, a mentor understands you because they have been through the journey. So I think mentorship plays a very key role and cannot be undermined. I don't know if that answers the question.
I think that really does. Alaba, would you like to go a bit in depth also on maybe the sponsorship aspect, especially since you are an entrepreneur, and maybe how that's helped you in your entrepreneurship?
Okay, so thank you once again for having me, and thank you for the question. As regards sponsorship, I also want to join my voices with my co-panelists saying that sponsorship plays a key role in one's career advancement and development. For me, in specific, one of the things I've been able to do is to get one or two people that have become my sponsors. And sponsors won't just come on board. They want to see what you have on the table. They want to see what you have, what you want to sell. And I think that has also helped me to attract the kind of sponsors that have been supporting my journey, especially in entrepreneurship. So I have two sponsors currently, and one of the ways they've been playing their role is to watch out for events for me that has to do with entrepreneurs' advancement and how they can get the best support ever through some certifications and some projects. And I think they've been supportive. So these are the people I leverage on to achieve my set goals. Sponsors really play a key role in one's career and in business or in entrepreneurship. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alaba. Now, since we are talking about mentorship and sponsorship, I really do think that an important question to also ask is, why is networking so important in the development, progress, and advancements in one's career? I think I should also add, especially with the times we're in, COVID-19, how do you believe like we should pursue networking remotely? I do know like before we could go to like events where we would actually physically meet people, but now that we're all at home, how does that aspect change? And do any of our panelists have any tips or guidelines for people like us who just want to know how to network? So this question is open to anyone on the panel, but I think the best person to start off the question, answering the question would be Carla, since she is coming from human resources and can give us those little tidbits.
Sure, I can take a stab at this. I think networking is extremely important. I think it's one of those areas where some people have it and others don't. Some people struggle with networking. It comes very naturally to some, and for some people, it takes a huge amount of effort. In my experience, we all need it. I think this is not a gender thing, but studies have shown that women particularly struggle with networking for a number of reasons, especially as they get older and start to have other life commitments. So, you know, everybody needs networking to, for social reasons, for professional reasons, to get exposure, to build relationship capital, because that is not something that you can put a price on. The fact that you have important, valuable networks that can be leveraged, I think it's absolutely essential. And what I like about this generation, this kind of social media age, is that networking has become something that is accessible. You have to be intentional. It's not going to fall into your lap. You have to get out there, overcome some of the barriers that naturally hold you back. And this is where, you know, to the point that Natalie and Alaba made about sponsorship and mentoring, that can help you if you're naturally averse to networking, because a mentor, for instance, can help take you alongside with them on that journey and give you some of that confidence. And I think there is a link and connection between mentoring and networking, because from networking, you can access good mentors, and mentors can also help you get into good networking. So yeah, this is very multi-layered. I don't want to take all the time in the world, but it's absolutely essential. Social media is a leveler, so you can connect with heads of organizations on LinkedIn, on social media. You can join webinars. There's a whole range of things that you can do to network.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. And that's actually good with the social media, especially since we're all at home, that you can just send a quick email or even a message to someone to connect with them. I know we all have LinkedIn, so connecting with someone, getting to know them. Jackie, also coming from the corporate type of environment, would you have like any tips for us on maybe how to approach someone that we would want to network with, especially on social media? Because you obviously know the way I would message my friend, I would imagine would not be the way I would message a potential person I want to network with.
Yeah, thanks for the question. And I echo Cola's sentiments. I think social capital is just as important as monetary capital. Social capital is your network, which will equate to your net worth. I didn't know this until coming back from school, that trying to find a job, applying for over 300-400 positions, no callback. And then someone told me get a LinkedIn profile. It's like the professional social. It's the professional Facebook, and you know, have a professional picture and just start. Yes. You know, create a standard message, copy and paste different names until it hits, until it sticks. And so I started that over 10 years ago, and I cannot stress the importance of networking. It is the most powerful way to get to where you need to go. Not to negate that you need certain requisite skills and possible education in specific fields that you want to probably go into. I'm a proponent of education, but I also believe your social capital and your network can definitely move you along. I think the biggest thing, I think a lot of people and mentors that are now my close advisors who have told me, and these are people that have an amazing, incredible professional background, they said they're not ever opposed to meeting anyone. In fact, most of the people at the top want to talk. They want to talk about themselves. They want to talk about, they love to talk. They love to deposit wisdom and tips. You would be very shocked. Vice presidents, assistant deputy ministers, directors, entrepreneurs, they all want to talk to people. It's the approach that you take, making sure that when you write that email or that LinkedIn message, just be professional about it. It doesn't have to be long-winded. It can be concise, but just get to the point, introduce yourself. Hi, my name is Jacqueline. I noticed on your profile that you are the vice president of this organization of a company that I've been always wanting to work in. And it'd be an honor and a privilege to, connect with you either virtually or on phone. Let me know if you're open to it. Do it in a very tactful, not aggressive, but in a very, funny enough, the way you write can also be very warm in itself. So just do it concise, to the point, on why, and be honest. And I would like to connect with you on career opportunities within your organization. Most people, when you go and ask them for coffee, they know that you want something from them. Okay, like be honest with your intentionality. Be honest with your intentions. People will respect you more when you're honest with why you want to meet with them. And you may not get that job at that first meeting, but guess what? Your integrity has shone through as to why you met with that person. And when you impress them with that conversation, your name, Ify, is going to stick. Then all of a sudden, 3 months down the line, all these new postings are coming within their organization. They're going to remember, I just met with this incredible young professional. She was so professional. She was very, very, assertive and wanting to get into the career field. And I'm going to connect her. That has happened to me before, where I met someone, had coffee with them, continue to engage with them. So it's not just about meeting them and then go ghost. And then 6 months down, start to build an authentic relationship. That's the key. I think a lot of leaders that I know is they're never opposed to meeting people. It's the authenticity in the approach that they're looking for. Because if they're going to bring you into their organization, they're putting their name and their credibility on you. So build that relationship. And then you'll be very shocked to know that the referrals are going to come all of a sudden. Someone will call you, so-and-so that, and you probably forget, that told me about you. Someone passed my resume towards it. It's just amazing how the connecting the dots will happen. But the biggest tip would be just be authentic with why you want to meet with someone, be professional, and be consistent. Consistency, 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 consistency. And also, when you're in that organization and that person that has put their name on you, maintain that relationship with that person. They are now not only your mentor, now transitioning to being a sponsor. A mentor, colloquially, I'll say, is like an auntie. The mentor, you can go to them, you had a hard day at work, you probably thought you bombed that PowerPoint presentation, you feel horrible. You can go to that person. It's a safe space. You can cry, you can vent. They can give you some advice. They can calm you down. They bring you back, and then you're able to collect. The sponsor is like the launching pad. They're the people in the organization. When they say move, things happen. Okay. So in order to get to that place, it's build that mentorship and that authentic relationship. And that mentor, because sometimes your mentors aren't your sponsors. And that's another thing. Your mentors and your sponsors may not be the same people. Okay. I know for me, I call them my tribe, my village. Those are people that are people that I can definitely go into confidence and talk about anything. And I know they have my back no matter what. My sponsors have my back, but it's really about that leader. We may not be close, but they see value that I bring to the organization. And I see value in their leadership. And they know that together we can move the agenda forward within the organization. And so they're willing to put their name, their credibility on the line to promote me to other people within their network that you don't even know about. There's levels to this. So I would just strongly say, be consistent with your approach, be authentic with your approach, and be to the point. People know you're meeting with them because you want something. So be okay to share with them what exactly you want to obtain from that relationship.
Amazing. Wow. I love the explanation of the difference between what the mentor and the sponsor's roles are. And I thank you so much for the tips. I know I'm learning a lot from our panelists. Now, because of time, I'm going to end with one more question. And the question is, how are you able to overcome challenges in the pursuit of your goals and aspirations? Now, I want to focus this questions towards Alaba because you did speak about how you have sponsors. Now, did you ever embark on any challenges in your pursuit to becoming an entrepreneur or even getting those sponsorships?
Yeah, absolutely. I had a whole lot of challenges, and I'm still encountering some. But the goal for me is not to give up. I'm open to ideas. So one thing I do is to tell people my challenges, to share my problem, and try to get their input on how I can navigate my way through these challenges. And part of what I've been able to do was also to set up a board for my company. And most times, once I have these challenges, I always run to them. Uh, they are well experienced in business, in media, and in human resources. And I just tell them these are the challenges I'm facing in my businesses, and these are the stages uh, I am at currently. And this is where I'm going to. So most times they give me their share their expertise, they share their experiences, they tell me what to do. And when it's beyond them, they also refer me to people that are well experienced and vast in my space. So basically, that's how I've been able to navigate or manage my challenges. And most times too, I'm open to reading. I read a whole lot. I do a whole lot of research just to make sure uh, what I give out is beyond par. Because yes, I'm in the media space, and I know there are a whole lot of medias doing what I do, media company doing what I do in terms of projecting Africa, Africans in diaspora and all that. But one thing I tell myself and the team is that we have to be unique in all what we do. And most times we don't even say much about what we do. What we just need to do is to just send a link to our prospects, our clients, and all that. And once they see that, they love what we do, they are overwhelmed. And the next thing is they want to engage, they want to share their stories too on our platform. So far, we've been able to feature over 500 entrepreneurs since 2016. We launched, and beyond just entrepreneurs, to both the top CEOs, they also want to come talk, share their experiences and expertise on our platform. So for me, these are the things I've been able to cope with. And like I said, entrepreneurship is a journey. Owning a business in Africa is not easy. That's just the truth, because we lack so many things in terms of infrastructure, in terms of policy and all that. In fact, our government can wake up one day and just come up with a policy that can squash businesses that you've been building for the past, say, 5-10 years. Just of recent, we had one with the Central Bank of Nigeria as regard cryptocurrency. There are a whole lot of startups and entrepreneurs that were affected and had to shut down their businesses. And same with hailing bikes. There were a whole lot of policies that the government came up with that were not favorable to startups and entrepreneurs. Now, these are also part of the challenges too that we face. So it's a whole wide spectrum of challenges. But one thing at the back of our mind is we'll never give up. And that's why we try as much as possible to keep innovating, trying to look for ways to be on top of our game. So I think that's it. Yeah, it's been rosy, but of course, it comes with a whole of challenges. And aside the government, then government policy, infrastructure, and all that, because we are startups too, it's difficult and it's hard to actually build a team, because we have just few team members that really wants to grow with you or buys into your vision. So you spend a whole lot of time selling your vision to your team members, because for me, I think they make 90% success rate of your business. So so those are also part of the challenges too that we are facing. But one lucky thing, or should I say good thing, that that has been working for us since inception we started, I try as much as possible not to run a brick and mortar kind of business, because that would have chased me out of business, because it comes with a whole lot of expenses, financing, and funding. So what I do from inception was to work from home and have some few team members that bought into the vision, and they also work from home. And what we do was to, so we have a dashboard, is a centralized dashboard whereby we can drop all our jobs, tasks, and all that, and we achieve them. We meet once or twice in a week, and that would that gives us an opportunity to evaluate our past works for the week, for the previous week, and how we can handle the challenges for the new week and what we tend to do and all that. So, and that we've been able to do. And last year, January, when we now wanted to go full out there, COVID struck. And for us, we were able to adjust back, because it's what we've been used to. So 99.9% of the people that we've engaged so far on our platform, we got it from LinkedIn. So what we did was to create a content on our platform that is sellable, that is attractive, and is convincing and authentic. And so what we do is to send these links out to our connections and all that, and from there we get a whole lot of engagement. Entrepreneurs who wants to get featured on the platform. People want to tell their stories on the platform beyond just Africans in the continent. What we've also been able to do was also to target African diaspora, because part of our goal is to connect African diaspora back to the continent, and in terms of how they can also collaborate with Africans within the continent, because one thing is for sure, we all can't leave Africa. So there are going to be some people back home doing the work, while there are some people. So basically, that's how we've been working, and it's been an interesting journey with its challenges and all.
Wow, thank you so much, Alaba, for that in-depth answer. Really appreciate seeing someone who has struggled, but also seeing how far they've come too. Now, the panel is coming to an end, so I just want to see if the panelists have any closing remarks, anything that they want us to take away from what they have been speaking about. So I want to open up the floor just maybe for about 30 seconds. Start off with Natalie. Any closing remarks for us? You are muted, but while you fix that, maybe Kola, if you have any closing remarks, any important thing.
Yes, please. I just want
Okay, so it does look like Natalie is having some technical difficulties at the moment as she is lagging. So I'm just going to pass it over to Kola while she fixes that. Any closing remarks for us? Anything you want us to take away before we end the panel one?
No, not particularly. It's just I'm just conscious we've shared a lot of information. So for all of our listeners, digest it. Take 2 or 3 key nuggets. The intention is not to try to burden you or to ask you to become superheroes overnight. So I think it's important to make that, to clarify, to say, choose an area. That's why it's called strategy. You can't do everything. Choose the areas you want to grow at and make a commitment to grow every single day, because success is on the daily habits. First, you'll form those habits, and then those habits will in future form you. So if you choose great habits up front, then in future, those habits will start to form and to shape you. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So friends, this brings us to the end of panel 1. I just want to again thank you to our wonderful panelists for their time and the knowledge they have shared with us. I know I have learned so much, especially with networking. I will be taking your advice, Jackie. So before I bring up the next panel, I'm going to pass the spotlight over to Hanma, the founder of Revel More, who has a presentation on the celebration of African art for us. So enjoy.
Thanks, Ife. Thank you so much. Welcome, everyone. Just a quick mic check. You guys can hear me all right, right?
Yes, we can hear you perfectly.
Great. So welcome, everyone, to The Fabric is a Message. This virtual art exhibition provides a selective overview to the explosive history of Africa's textile tradition. We invite you to, open up the origins behind the prints and patterns in our diverse display. But first, a quick introduction. So, hi everyone, my name is Hodma Ahmadi. I am the founder of Rev Morale and an undergraduate student from the University of Toronto, Scarborough. I am glad to witness such a large turnaround for this event and completely honored that the Casa Foundation selected my project for a private screening. To give a formal introduction to my organization, Rev Morale is a social enterprise that produces educational tours in African histories, cultural identities, and social political conditions using arts exhibitions. We aim to promote and continue to promote and establish an inclusive learning environment that celebrates diverse African histories and cultural topics. It's for that reason that we're here today. Rev Morale would like to introduce you to a key contributor to African history. We would like to introduce you to our fabrics, textiles, or as the locals will call it, materials. These pieces are the very essence of our beings, as they were and still are primary identifiers of who we are. No two African communities have the same style of fabric, and in previous economic times, they served the seals of promises between two different communities. Today, they are the proud stories told by those before us. I implore you to enjoy what we have in store for you, and maybe you might find some details to your own culture's clues engraved in ours. Great, so during this viewing, we'll only be introducing you to 2 out of 3 rooms that we have in our virtual room. And this is just so we can keep along with the time. But you're highly encouraged to visit our website just in case you would like to visit this project at your own personal time. Again, I would just like to make sure that my audio and sound is working. Can I just get a thumbs up? Okay, great. So this is our first room. And in this room, we invite viewers to uncover the concept of intercultural learning. The concept implores viewers to make sure that whenever they approach cultural subjects, they approach it with newness and an open mind. We also give an overview to our exhibition subject in this room and highlight African fabric as a key contributor to showcasing the records of African history and tradition. Showcasing artwork by South African photographer. The DPO is an introduction to a girl wearing African fabric. Hijukitu, you know nothing. Hijukitu is a warm welcome message commonly relayed by women in Tanzania. Used mostly as a piece of solemn advice, the adage is mostly as a piece of solemn advice to intercultural learners. The adage encourages the subject to approach cultural experiences with newness and open mind. The concept of the saying suggests that if you know nothing, you may begin to learn something, but if you know everything, you will never learn anything. The making of the lion cloth. The loincloth. African culture overflows with traces of rich symbolism and history, and these attributes are deeply embedded in African prints. Textiles in Africa are akin to reading a book about the continent's history and its people. It serves as a form of visual communication that embodies philosophies, fables, proverbs, and sometimes historical occurrences and life experiences. Colors used in each textile also hold philosophical significance as they represent social standing, age, tribal orientation, and marital status. We'll then be moving on to the last piece of this particular room. This is an artwork by Ghanaian photographer showcasing the use of kente fabric in the Ashanti ethnic group. Slipping away with time. The era of strong projection of symbolism in Africa is quickly fading, and African print is among the many cultural elements that suffer the consequences. Designs seen today have little or no symbolic connotations or social cultural values that once dominated African prints. As print symbolism takes a bow, bright and vivid colors overtake its target market with much allure. I'll now give a couple seconds just for us to take on the elements of this particular space. And I show you it's more than photography that we have in our other rooms. There's a lot more of a diverse array of art to view. So I'll be transitioning into the second room. Unfortunately, we wouldn't be viewing this room today. We'll be viewing the next room that just comes before it. But in this exhibition, this room provides a layer of depth to our exhibition as it showcases 3 predominant methods of producing African fabric. Each method has a unique origin and background to its acclaimed acceptance in diverse African countries. So going to give a quick second just to scan the room. We'll be moving on to the next room briefly, just because of time. Also, courtesy of the Really Art Gallery in Nigeria, they contributed a short catalogue of paintings by Tonia Ineji, a Nigerian visual artist who incorporates African fabric in her paintings and artwork to showcase origin and identity. This is the last room that we're paying a lot of importance to. In this room, we invite viewers to uncover the opulent backgrounds and stories interwoven into the diverse display that we have. We're going to be starting off from a very important fabric in Ghana, and this fabric is called Aduinasa. Just a few seconds just to scan the textiles and the texture and the material. So Aduinasa means all motifs are used up. It is the most prestigious fabric in Ghana because it symbolizes royalty, creative ingenuity, and superior craftsmanship. The history of the print is said to come from the designer's wish to weave a unique cloth to please the royal king of the Ashanti ethnic group. In his efforts, he exhausted all the motifs of his time. We also have contributions from a poet in South Africa who made poems just relating to the history of the backgrounds. But because of time, we're also just going to make sure that you get that on your private viewing. So to view the elements of the dresses, this is what it looks like from the front. And from the back. Beautiful. So we'll then be moving on to the next dress. We'll only be viewing 5 out of the 10 dresses in this room. This particular fabric should be very popular in Nigeria, and I'm sure a lot of Nigerian women would recognize it, especially if you come from the Igbo ethnic group. It's a very popular fabric. The name of the fabric is teardrops. The tear-shaped patterns on the fabric birth its name. The design encourages people to embrace the bittersweet nature of life, and the Maasai adage often captures that teeth do not see poverty, meaning that people still find something to smile about even when circumstances are dire. And to show more about the textures of the dress, this is what the front looks like. And I'll be transitioning into the back of the dress. Beautiful work. These fashion pieces were all a collaboration from designers in Nigeria and Malaysia. And then it was also put together in the UK. So it's a very extensive work that we had to make sure this entire collection comes down together. This is a fabric that is very traditional. So a lot of people wouldn't be used to it. It's from Mali, and it's made in a very unique setting. The fabric is called Bogola Fini and originates from Mali. The patterns on this fabric symbolize good fortune and prosperity. It emulates the cushions of rich women from Mauritania. These women are considered to be so wealthy that they do not have to work, but only rest their heads on pillows designed with these patterns. And to check the elements of the design, starting with the back. And also move into the front of the dress. So we have 2 more dresses to view, and I will be passing it on to Ave. This is my favorite dress from the entire collection, just because of the sophistication that it brings up. It's a popular fabric in West African countries, most especially Nigeria and Senegal. The name of the fabric is called helmet, but in Togo it has a traditional name called Abobo Tolegoma, which means the snail is out of its shell. Every September, a village called Abobo celebrates their Boson festival. During the festival, snail dishes are enjoyed by locals, and the snail fabric is a popular choice. So view the front of the dress. So it has this great butterfly effect, which I just fell in love with instantly when the designer submitted it. And lastly, from the back. And then we'll be transitioning to our very final dress, which is not the last dress in this entire collection, but just the one that we'll be showing in this particular exhibition. This particular fabric has been growing a lot of popularity in West Africa, but it actually originates from Angola. So, called the Samakaka. The Samakaka originates from the Mumulia tribe in Angola, and from the waist up, the Mumulias usually don't wear anything and leave their body bare, but they use textiles like the Samakaka to cover their lower half. The black represents the African continent, the red represents the bloodshed from Angola's liberation struggle, and the yellow represents the country's wealth. And viewing the textile on the dress itself, and lastly from the back. Great. So this will be the end of our virtual screening. I'm so glad that I was given the opportunity to showcase my first virtual project because of the pandemic. But it was really, really great to connect with you all. I'm just going to stop sharing for a brief moment. Going to go to the next slide here. So if you would like to if you'd like to be connected with us and engage with us on social media, our page is at Rev Morale, and you can always check us out. The project is also available on our website for private viewing at your own personal time. Thank you so much, and thanks to the Casa Foundation.
Wow. Thank you so much, Hanma. That was an amazing display of art, and I'm sure the audience was excited to see. Like, I see people saying this is a great event and this is great art. So again, thank you for showcasing your art. It was lovely to have you.
Thank you.
Remember, if you are a lover of art, you can connect with Hanma on the IG at @revel_morel, or in the chat box. You can also follow their IG and our IG to get more details of his work. Again, his was at @rev_morel. So I hope you are now prepped to start our second panel of the day. Could our panelists kindly please come up? And also I'm going to pass it to our panelists to just give us a brief 1-minute introduction of yourself. I know we have Tapfuma, we have Kola again, Hermine and Imanzi. So no need for Kola to introduce herself. We already met her in panel 1. So I'm just going to pass it to the other 3 to just briefly give us a 1-minute introduction of yourself, and then we'll get started. So we can start off with Imanzi, if you want to start off by introducing yourself so that our audience can get to know you.
I was going to say ladies first, I mean, but I'll start off. So hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Imanzi Kaitari, and in terms of my background, I'm Rwandan Canadian. Have the opportunity or I've been working with the federal government for quite a while. So I work with the Department of Public Service and Procurement Canada as economic advisor during the day, but on the side, I co-founded a business called Entrepreneurship, which is a platform to connect, amplify, and to increase the global awareness of entrepreneurs that are committed to Rwanda's and Africa's socioeconomic growth. So that's been my passion project for a while, and yeah, that's a little bit about what I've been involved in, and super excited to be featured here on this discussion. So thanks.
Perfect. And Tapfuma, if you want to introduce yourself, just give us a brief 1-minute introduction.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. Tapfuma Musewe, that's my name. Thank you, Ife, and thank you to Dr. Olutoyin for setting up this platform. So I am based in Toronto, Canada. I grew up here, and after I finished my undergrad, I moved to the continent. I lived in South Africa for about 10 years, lived in Ghana for a year or 2. And so I would say that most of my working life has been on the continent, where I was engaged in community development, business development, management consulting, as well as entrepreneurship. I came back to Toronto about 4 years ago. And when I got back here, I decided that I would start an initiative or a company that would act as a consultant to other companies. So it's B2B, and it would facilitate international trade and investment with African markets. And in the course of doing that, realized that there's an important, I suppose, opportunity to shift the narrative around Africa. So I started another initiative called AfriFursa, and we can get more into that during the discussion. But currently, I'm also managing director with a private equity firm called Reagan Mills, and we do focus on African and Asian markets. So it's really a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
It's honestly a pleasure to have you. I'm very excited. And lastly, Hermine, if you just want to introduce yourself.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. So my name is Hermine Bondo. In terms of my background, I was born in Cameroon, but I was raised in France, and I moved to Toronto about 5 years ago. So I have over a decade of international work experience in marketing. I worked in France, I worked in the US, and I'm now working in Canada. So over the past, I would say over the 10 years of experience that I had, I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly of doing marketing. So that's how I decided to use my skills to actually help purpose-driven brands. So I founded Before Brand. It's a bilingual storytelling-driven marketing agency, and we work for purpose-driven brands. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And again, like I said, Colin needs no introduction. She's already introduced herself. So we might as well get started. So welcome, everyone. I'm very excited to speak with you, and so is our audience. And we do have a lot of questions to ask. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to share the YouTube links with all your friends, connections, family. I'd even go as far as to say even your enemies. Just share it all around. But anyways, let's get started. So this is a question for our entrepreneurs on the panel. So I'm looking at you, Hermine, and Tapfuma. And it's a very open-ended question, but an important question nonetheless. What would you recommend in funding your business? So Hermine, if you want to start off.
What would I recommend in what? Sorry?
For funding your business.
Oh, for funding the business? Okay,
Yes.
so funding is the big question. We need money. We always need money to run a business. Yep. So there are different kind of funding you can get, like you can get loans from the banks. For me personally, the way I've been funded right now, besides just personal income, I actually run a service-based business. So when I started my business, I didn't need capital to actually start my business. It was like mostly consulting and using my skills. But as you try to scale, you will need the money. So far, maybe Tapfuma will have a better experience like talking about loans and banks. But I was able to get money from grants personally, like different kind of grants that were available for women-owned businesses, Francophone-owned businesses. There are like different programs and grants available that I was able to actually apply for and get. Obviously, you can also like if you have the capital for running your business, like if you have the money, like that's another way of getting funding. But maybe Tapfuma can just maybe speak a little bit more about funding.
Yeah, well, I think, thank you, Hermine. I think what you said, I completely agree with. And I think the question, as you've kind of alluded to, is where on your journey you are, whether you're just starting out, your startup, or whether you're trying to scale, or maybe you're a really mature company. But, I think we're speaking to youth entrepreneurs, and I'm sure that many have ideas and would like to bring them to fruition. I'm a big believer in bootstrapping. And that really, I'm also in the service industry, so it's a bit different perhaps with, brick and mortar situation where you're creating a physical product. But I think you have to prove your concept first, your business concept. I think you need to get some traction. I think you need to get your hands dirty. And when you do that, you don't really want to take on too much debt, because if things don't really work out, you don't want to start off owing people a lot of money. And I think there are ways to do that creatively. I think you can look at friends and family. That's typically the first stop or the first start. When you start, there's also grants. As Hermine mentioned, I think now is a very interesting time, especially for the Black community, because there is grant funding or concessional funding, which means that you wouldn't have to pay commercial rates. You'd pay a lower interest if it's a loan that you're taking on. You can also look at offering equity. So if you have an idea that you think you can get a lot of people or some people who have capital to be interested in, you could offer them, a slice of equity of ownership in your company, or you can structure it in a way that it starts as debt and then turns to equity. So there's different ways to structure it, but I really believe that you have to try and prove your concept first. You don't want to take on other people's capital until you have a very strong strategy for execution, and until you've actually proven out just at least what people would call a minimum viable product. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, that's great. And actually, speaking on what Hermione and even you, Tapfuma, were talking about, and I'm sure the audience is very interested in this, is do you guys have any specific grants or loans, or maybe even programs or places you would recommend for entrepreneurs in the audience to look at? So I know, Hermione, you were saying that you took like some grants, and there was some, and Tapfuma, you mentioned some government loans. Any recommendations for the entrepreneurs in the audience?
There were like with COVID, like there were many different kind of programs and grants available for entrepreneurs. I guess like what I would recommend, because it's very difficult to know everything when you're trying to get the information yourself. You might not know everything, but there are organizations that can actually help you. I would recommend to reach out because you don't know what you don't know. Ask around, ask for help, and really like there are organizations for women-owned businesses. There are organizations that help immigrant-owned businesses. Like trying to see within your community or your own profile what you can get and who can help you. For example, for myself, I'm a Black entrepreneur, I'm a woman entrepreneur, I'm a Francophone entrepreneur. Like, those are different communities. I go and I know like the stakeholders within those communities. So if I need help, I can reach out and actually ask for help. They can either redirect me somewhere or give me more information or put me in touch with someone. But I would say reach out. You have to do the work to try and see who within your own community or your communities can help you within in your journey. That will be my main recommendation.
Yeah, and just to add to that, so there's a portal that I actually use. If you're based in, I think in the Ontario area, I think it's only specific to Ontario, but there's a portal called Magnet. And one of your guests, I think, was pretty instrumental. One of your previous guests on a previous program, her name is Wendy Suke from Ryerson University, and I believe Dr. Lutoyan works very closely with her. And they put this portal together, which is a great resource for entrepreneurs. So, so this is one of the organizations, for instance, that Hermine is kind of probably referring to. They collate everything. So whether it's grant funding from the Ontario government or from the Canadian government, it ends up there, and it tends to have a focus on, I think, developing a more international business or business model, but still very relevant. And just to give you an example of one that I found out about through that portal is the student work placement program, and that's a fantastic program because what you do is you hire students, and so it has to be a student who's enrolled in a post-secondary education here in Canada. And it's a pretty simple application process, but if you want to develop a website, you can have about 75% of your costs offset, by that. So there might be different skill sets that don't require, very senior kind of person to execute for you. So that's just one of the resources that you could potentially use.
Yeah, and I want to echo that because I use the student placement too through Magnet. It's really helpful when you're trying also to build a team and to hire students.
Perfect. Those are great places to look. And actually, to our audience, in addition to what Tapfuma and Hermione were saying, you can also check the entrepreneurspoints.com/funding programs and even government websites to find out different grants and loans that are available for entrepreneurs who are looking to fund their business. Now, for our next questions, I know in the last panel we did talk about sponsorship and mentorship, and this question is kind of for our business-focused people in the company panelists. So what should one look for in a sponsor and mentors? And how does this change in the corporate versus entrepreneurship setting? So I want to start off with the corporate. Imanzi, I know you are working in with the governments. Do you have anything to add to that?
Sure. Yeah, I'll jump in on this. So what I think what what small business owners and entrepreneurs could really leverage is trying to see where there could be possible solutions to the problems that they have like identified. And so in the casing of sponsorship, and so that's, I know that was something that was touched on during the last session. And so what I've seen, even like in my journey, working a full-time gig, but then, having interests and passions, outside my full-time gig. And what I've been doing over the last few years was just slowly building that community, that network, right? So even for last year, like exactly what Hermine was mentioning, where I was doing the research, I was checking things out, I was connecting with different folks. And so when I was ready to sort of make that transition and saying that, okay, I'm now ready to take on something on the side, and that I had a few people that I could reach out to and sort of get their perspective as to what are like the practical next steps in terms of setting up business. And so because I think a lot of times, especially for young entrepreneurs, is that especially right now we are in a very digital age where we could find out information on Google in like 5 seconds, right? Or we could fact check everything within 5 seconds, right? And I think that's good, obviously, to have a good understanding and definitely doing your homework and checking out different resources, which is online. But I really think the bridge needs to be connected. So how do you supplement and try to make sense of what you're here or what you're seeing online, or the different videos that you're seeing? Especially now, you can get watch different videos on YouTube, and everyone's an influencer. You could it's almost hard or tempting to kind of mimic or to copycat different sort of initiatives that are out there. And you may get some good traction, but I think having a good supportive network, a good well-rounded community, to really have a good understanding as to that understands you first as an individual, and who not just want to tell you something that you want to hear. But in order to get to that level, you need to be building those meaningful relationships earlier on. So what was helpful for me was that I've been building those meaningful relationships earlier on. We've been doing getting involved in different engagements, different volunteers, supporting like our different projects. And so when it came time to picking up the phone or just saying, hey, like I want to run this by you, and so they were able to give objective advice, which I wouldn't be able to get that advice on a YouTube sort of channel, just by scrolling by. I would have been able to get good high level information, but in terms of the connecting piece, I think that's a critical piece. And I think as young entrepreneurs, that's something where I think could be really helpful. And so we sometimes tend to rush that process, but I think if you get really grounded in the early stages while you're building and realizing, okay, who could I have around you, whether that's an advisory board or a council, or just someone that has, having experience in that, that could help you in those pivotal stages, especially if you're wanting to do this on the side. And then maybe you're thinking about wanting to transition to full-time into it. But I would even say, even if you're thinking about, wanting to do it full-time, first seek out, get those mentors around you that could really give you that advice. And then, necessarily then they could offer those strategies to you. So that's what I would say for that.
Thank you so much, Imanzi. And I also want to put the spotlight on you, Kala, just to give us any tips, especially like I said in the previous panel, coming from a kind of like a HR background. So you do have a lot of background with this type of question.
Yes, fortunately I do. And I think to your question, I don't see any kind of major difference in terms of the principle of mentorship or sponsorship, regardless of whether you're in corporate or an entrepreneur. In terms of the principle, I think overarchingly, it's really the same. Your mentor is there to come alongside you in a very non-instructive way and walk with you on your journey. They are there to support, to advise, to be a listening ear. I particularly love the fact that because your mentor has likely been there, they can empathize. And this is what I gain from my mentors is, I think it's that difference between sympathy and empathy, right? It's the sympathy says, I feel sorry for you, whilst the empathy says, I've been there, so I get it. And that's what your mentor is really offering. But in terms of sponsorship, that your sponsor is there to spotlight you. Their single role is elevation. This is why your sponsor has to be somebody who's a decision maker. They have enough grit, they have enough influence, and they have the position. Because the role of your sponsor is to spotlight you, is to showcase you, and is your vertical progression. That is a fundamental difference. I see people all the time making the mistake of trying to turn their mentoring relationship into a very transactional relationship. So now I expect my mentor to give me a job. Now I expect my mentor, to do things for me. And that is a very misguided approach when approaching that mentoring relationship. Now your sponsor, you can start to have some sort of expectation around a transaction with your sponsor because they are single-handedly there to elevate and to promote you. So to your question, I think Imanzi tackled the question well. My kind of two pence that I'm going to add to that is be choosy. When you choose your mentor and your sponsor, just because someone is an experienced mentor does not make them right for you. I have the honor of being mentored by incredible leaders who have generously invested in me. I'm also a mentor to other people, so I've followed and I'm being followed. It's just that cycle. So what I say to people when, for instance, someone comes to me and they say, oh, will you be my mentor? I've learned that just because I'm a mentor to people does not necessarily make me a good mentor for all. So be choosy, understand your value system, and make sure there's a connection between your value system and that your mentor stands for the same. At the very least, you should want to be like your mentor. Otherwise, what is the point of that relationship?
Yes, that's actually true. And actually now it begs the question, do you think one can have either too many mentors or too many sponsors? Or is that something, I know you did say like we have to be choosy, but as the person looking for a mentor and I'm approaching a bunch of people that I think would best fit, is there anything as too many mentors?
Yeah, sometimes, yes. It's all very relative. It's not a black or white answer. I don't want to be too absolute on that in terms of answering that question, because people have different circumstances. My need based on where I am today might mean that I have no need for a lot of mentors. Somebody starting out or trying to get into the world of business might just need the validation and a bit more guidance from a kind of wider, broader range of mentors and sponsors. So one size does not necessarily fit all is my answer there, Ify. One size does not fit all. You just have to understand your purpose, that kind of raison d'etre for why you're doing what you're doing, and who fits into that. Now, it is possible to be careless and have far too many mentors and then get yourself all flustered and confused in that kind of cycle of getting so much information and getting lost in the process. So you will have to understand your journey, understand your raison d'etre, and have the discernment to be able to choose your network of sponsors and mentors wisely.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Carla. That was very insightful. And Imanzi, we actually have a question for you from someone named Cedric from Toronto, who asks, what advice would you give to a young entrepreneur on how to find a mentor and a sponsor? So I know we did touch on this in the last panel a bit, but this person specifically wants to hear from you, Imanzi. Do you have any tips or anything to say to them?
Sure. Yeah, that's a good question. So I think what I would say, I think one of the main takeaways is where can you provide the value? Where can you provide the value for whom that you want to connect with? And so, like what Hermine was mentioning earlier, like I don't see it as like a transactional approach, but where can you find the best value, or where can you provide the best value? And so one of the best ways is start off with those areas in which you are like passionate and interested in. So if you are passionate within, let's say, the fintech industry, and you really want to one day maybe hope to get into that industry, look to see where are there opportunities for which you could actually, volunteer or just provide value to them. Anything in which that will help support their cause, right? Because I think the more that you are building value for others, and that you are there to provide your service, the more that it will flow naturally, right? Like, and so I like in all the relationships that I've had in terms of mentoring, or in terms of those within the community network, I wasn't intentional saying, okay, well, today I got to find 5 new mentors or 1 new mentor, right? It was sort of, okay, whom can I provide value to? And so as a young entrepreneur is being strategic and thinking as to what are the best avenues for which I could seek out those opportunities. And so looking at the different opportunities that are available within your circle, and then you may have to, reaching out and say, okay, are there others that I could reach out to that I could, provide support with? And so I think those early relationships as you're beginning to really build your profile, to build your venture will eventually support you later on, because they will remember those first early conversations, right? So I think people want to be part of like a journey, right? And so the good and the bad, right? But just, don't be afraid to say or to present your journey when it's a finished, polished journey, right? And so I think that's where people will begin to be hesitant. Okay, what are you trying to get from me, right? But if you're open, if you're honest, and you want to make those meaningful connections and those relationships, and say, hey, this is my journey. What do you think about this? And then it will grow organically, and then by you getting involved in those different networks. So yeah, I would just say definitely see where you can provide those value earlier on, and then you'll see some of it begin to come for fruition in terms of the opportunities.
Thank you so much, Imanzi. That was an amazing answer. And Cedric, I hope that answers your questions. And again, for those watching on LinkedIn and YouTube, please do not forget to put your questions in the chat box so you have an opportunity to engage with our wonderful panelists. So my next question is for our entrepreneurs. Especially coming from a corporate background, how can a 9-to-5 job holder transition and start planning their entrepreneurship journey? Do you have any tips or anything with proven results, or just advice that you can give to someone who's working in the corporate world and wants to transition into essentially owning their business? So Takfuma, if you want to start it off.
I was going to say, I don't think I'm the best person to answer this, because I've spent a lot of time in entrepreneurship, but yeah, and I've also, I have worked for others, but typically I've worked with early stage companies or small, medium-sized companies, not from major corporations. But what I would say is, from my personal experience, is that you have to take advantage of what you do know. So you have to start from where what you do know, and you have to look at the angles or the gaps in the market that you see from your current vantage point. And then there's a whole process in proving that and testing your assumptions and so on. And I'm not sure that's exactly what we're asking here. So I just want to say this. Then I also want to say that at the same time, you have to be very careful about not transitioning into entrepreneurship with a very blinkered approach. So the things that worked in the corporate scenario are more than likely not going to work in your startup entrepreneurship scenario. And what can actually happen is you can become so almost bound by how you used to do things and how you looked at problems. And I have seen this in entrepreneurship where I've had people who come from very strong corporate background come and work with me. And you have to be able to be very flexible in an entrepreneurial setting. If you're working with me, you have to be able to think about marketing. You have to think about operations. You've got to think about everything, finance. Now, if you come and you're just going to focus on finance and you got the marketing person who's going to take care of all the marketing for you and you're going to delegate and so on, then you're going to be very frustrated. So I think one of the key things is almost taking advantage of your background, but learning where to let go of it and allow yourself to be very creative and innovative in how you approach things.
Wow, I know you said you couldn't answer that question, but you did amazing. Like, that was very good. So another question, and this one is for you, Hermine. What do you think new entrepreneurs should consider on how to get partners or clients or even people to get on board with not just their idea, but maybe their product or service?
Thank you. I just wanted to go back to the question about finding a mentor from like being an entrepreneur myself. I'm a mentee and a business mentor myself, so I wear both hats. And you have to understand from a mentor perspective, it's someone who is rooting for you because you're not paying that person. It's someone who is like exclusively rooting for you and based on like what Imenzi was saying, like you need to have that connection because they believe in your vision, in your story, and they're willing to help you and guide you. So when you're an entrepreneur, there are two ways you can actually find mentors. The first one is they can be assigned to you because like most entrepreneurship programs, at the end of the program, they usually assign you a mentor who's going to be with you, I don't know, for 3 months or 6 months, and then you see how the relationship goes, and then you can go from there. And the other way is just you reaching out to people, being intentional and trying to reach out. And I just wanted to give an advice for people who maybe like me are solo founders, like you don't have a co-founder, you're alone as a founder. So personally, I try to not just when I'm looking for mentors, I'm not just trying to look at people who have done exactly what I'm trying to do, but also people who can bring another perspective. For example, someone who is good for finance, that's not my, it's not something that I really, really enjoy doing as a marketing person. I'm more a creative person, but I need that perspective from someone who is experienced. So try to be very strategic and based on what they can bring to your business to actually help you grow and scale. And as far as looking for, I think the question was like partners and the question that you were asking, like how to look for partners.
Yeah, so the question was essentially how a new entrepreneur could get like partners or clients, just basically people on board with whatever their service or product is.
Yeah, so that's where your story, your personal story will come in play because when you start, you might not even have like a social proof or any business proof. What you have is a vision and you need to be able to tell that story for people to buy into you actually, because like what they do at the beginning is they're buying into you. And you need to have that personal story to make them believe in what you want to do and like visualize what you're trying to accomplish. That's how I got my first clients. That's how I got the first people who just helped me at the beginning, because I had nothing to prove, like to show. But they saw, okay, this girl, she's very, passionate about what she's saying. We can see her do this and that. And then usually at the beginning, they give you a project to see how the work goes. And then if you're doing a good job, they will actually give you more projects. They will refer to you. So it's important, and I'm all about storytelling. So it's important to have a good story, a good personal story at the beginning, because people choose you. That's basically what they do at the beginning. And then partnership is very important, even after when you're scaling, because you cannot do everything. And for example, I have one of my mentors who now is working with me as a business partner. And then that allowed me to take on more projects, because I don't have the team for the specific skills that is bringing to the project. So really try to, when it comes to partnership, try to see how you can partner with other people, what else they can bring you to actually provide more services to your potential clients.
Wow, thank you so much for that amazing answer. That was really great. So now we are just coming to the end of panel 2. So I just want to open the floor for our panelists if they have any closing remarks or anything they want to share or leave the audience with. So I'm just opening the floor to our panelists. If anyone just wants to interject, just give some closing remarks.
Sure, I'll go first. Well, no, I think this was a good discussion, and so hopefully we could continue with these discussions. But yeah, definitely one thing which I would want to say is that just continue to be authentic with the brand or with what you're trying to cultivate. So definitely, I would say right now it's very easy to be lured into getting into the new fade or different trends, but just be authentic in what you're trying. Like if you really believe in the product and service that you are trying to deliver and provides value, and you've tested it, and you can iterate along the way, but just continue to be authentic, and then people will buy in to that slowly but surely.
Thank you so much, Imanzi. So friends, this brings us to the end of panel 2. Again, I want to thank our amazing panelists for their valuable contributions. I know I've learned a lot. So now, ladies and gents, we are now coming towards the end of the session, and we have the opportunity for general questions on the expectations of youth entrepreneurs during the pandemic. So this is a discussion with all of our panelists from both panel 1 and 2, with the exciting addition of Dr. Olutoyin. Please don't forget to engage with them via the chat box and submit your questions. We have so many questions with a lot of people looking for answers. So if I could just have all our panelists who need no introduction, because we have seen them in the previous panels, come on stage and we can get started. So I'm just going to give them about 10 seconds. Okay. So now in the general discussion, we asked a few of our participants, what do you expect from leaders? And our panelists will answer a few of your questions. They have been collated from both the chats and also questions submitted to our email and our social media. And we will attempt to answer these questions with our panelists. So I want to start off with a question for you, Dr. Olutoyin. David, someone in the audience named David did ask, how does the recent 221 million government funding initiative work? And do we know where things are in terms of achievements?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Absolutely, thank you. Thank you so much. Let me just quickly say, you guys have been doing a fantastic job on the panel. Such huge, great, insightful contributions from all of you. We're really excited watching from the sidelines, yeah? So that question is on the recently announced Black Entrepreneurship Program, did you say?
Yeah, so the question
Yeah.
the question was, how does the recent 221 million government funding initiative, how does it work? And how is the fund being used essentially? And how can they tap into that?
Okay. All right. All right. For whoever asked that question, I'll just quickly give one sentence answer, really, because we've actually had a session, about 2 sessions actually, on the 221 million Canadian Black Entrepreneurship Fund. That's the program announced by the Prime Minister Justin Trudeau as one of the relief measures and one of the support offered to the Black entrepreneur community in Canada specifically. And so that the fund has actually been, the application for the funds has actually opened, and the first 2 parts have actually closed. The 221 million is broken into about 3 parts: the Black Entrepreneurship National Ecosystem Fund, and the application for that particular one opened in December, closed on the 21st of December 2020, last year, about 2 months ago. So people were expected to apply for upwards of up to $5 million in dollars, and then collaborating with other groups within our community, the Black community. But all the companies eligible to apply for this particular program must be Canadian companies. And then, of course, in the process, if they now need additional support from various other regions, then they will call for the support that is required. The modalities for that will be found on the Canada.ca. That's the Government of Canada website, Canada.ca. And then you type in Black Entrepreneurship Program, BEP. So you can actually get details on that particular website. The other part of that fund also is called the Black Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub, which is actually an application. The application for that one is also closed. It closed the 2nd week in January, if I'm correct. And that particular fund will be managed by universities in Canada on behalf of the Black community. So they expect to apply, but the results of all of these applications are yet to be released by the government. But the application for the first 2 have closed. The 3rd part of that fund is the Black Entrepreneurship Loan Fund. And the Black Entrepreneurship Loan Fund is a fund that is the largest part of it, and it will be released to entrepreneurs. The modalities for the application of the Black Entrepreneurship Loan Fund is yet to be released. So I believe we will have another session where we would actually share more details. We'll share more details of the Black Entrepreneurship Loan Fund. The first 2 that have actually closed, what we will also do is share the links, because we did have a session and an informational session on these funds and how to apply. The applications have closed, but there is a huge opportunity for Black entrepreneurs to work with the winners of the grant. They've actually made that provision because of the huge amount involved. So we will encourage people to go in and check out the information session to get all the details, and then the government website, which is Canada.ca. I'm going to have somebody put that in the chat box now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Olutoyin. And I hope that very much answers your question, David. Now, this is another question, and this is open to all our panelists. How are you, as Black entrepreneurs, for specifically our panelists who are entrepreneurs, responding to the COVID-19 crisis from your perspective and or lived experience? And how has the pandemic affected you? I know Alaba in the first panel briefly spoke about how it changed certain government policies, but what about the other panelists who are entrepreneurs?
Yeah, sure. I'll be happy to take a stab at this one. So one of the things that became obvious was that everything was going to shift to a virtual digital environment from a physical environment. So one of the things that we were able to do is launch something, which is our company AfriFursa. And what we do is we highlight diasporans, African diasporans. Olutoyin, Dr. Olutoyin has been a guest actually on that. We're doing amazing things and shifting the narrative from the diaspora. So that's simply for me a demonstration that you have to be agile. You know, I think as entrepreneurs, we have the almost opportunity, and I would say advantage, when it comes to some of the incumbents, because I saw some of the folks who were active in the Africa, like Canada, Africa space, who had big plans for 2020, you know, to have these physical gatherings. And as soon as COVID hit, I saw some paralysis. I saw that they had probably invested a lot already in these physical events, and then had to go back to stakeholders and try and rejuggle things, figure things out. But as entrepreneurs, we have the flexibility to say, well, you know, we don't have the same overheads per se, and we can therefore understand what is happening and be a lot more responsive. So I would really encourage all entrepreneurs out there to firstly be true to what you are driven and passionate about, and look at what you have around you, what resources you have that you can tap to actually respond to the opportunities. Don't be, I think Imanzi said it, don't be fad driven. Don't focus on what is popular right now, because there was a flood of virtual activity, you know, when COVID hit, and people are getting fatigued around some of these virtual events. But if you have something that will ride this wave and beyond, start building on it. Look at the resources you have around you and see what you can start doing.
Thank you so much, Tapfuma. What about you, Hermine? Anything to add?
I would say that with COVID, because I've seen, not me personally, but like particularly I would say Black women, because like women tend to have more like service-based businesses. And when we think about Black women, like when we think about like the beauty industry, like hair salons and things like that, they've been really impacted. And I have actually one of my mentee, like one of her business is like really, it needs like the face-to-face like interaction. So she's also trying to transition to how to provide different services, but online. For me personally, because I run a marketing agency, so I would say I have been impacted in a sense, like some of my projects were put on hold, but then I did a lot of actually consulting for small businesses to help them transition with the new digital economy. And it was a lot of learning over the summer for all of us. But that was interesting. And also I would say it's also an opportunity. Like you have to think that now the world is available at your fingertips. Like you can connect with people from other parts of the world. I've seen people who actually took advantage of that and be very creative in their business to actually do some really great things. So sometimes in a situation, trying to see how you can turn it into something positive and take advantage of like connecting with people from like the other side of the world, and just staying at home and you connect with other people like we're doing right now today with Alaba. So that's also interesting.
Yeah, thank you so much, Hermine. And thank you, Tapfuma, for sharing your experience with us. Now, Jackie, this is a question specifically for you. This was asked by someone in the audience. How do you believe young managers in the corporate world can leverage the support of executives?
Thank you for the question. I think anyone in any organization, and I think we've reiterated it on both panels, we all need some level of either a mentor, sponsor, or both. And so I know from my experiences with people that I respect who are starting their careers in management specifically, you know, there's always that expectation or that pressure that you want to prove yourself, that you're worthy to do the role. There's these new sociological syndromes that are now being identified with things that some of us have endured and experienced. For instance, the imposter syndrome. You know, the imposter syndrome is a syndrome that if you are, I'll use myself as an example, if you are a African Canadian person, lived here all your life, most of your life, and you're living in a duality of an African home and a Canadian context, right? And you're being told somehow implicitly and explicitly that you have to work really, really hard. You got to prove yourself. And so you create this thing in your mind that you always have to work twice as hard to be just as good. It's a falsity and it's a falsehood, but I mean, it is a reality to some degree. And then you get into corporate Canada and you're moving in your career, and then all of a sudden they want to promote you into leadership. And, you know, you go back into that whole like psychosis of this imposter syndrome. Am I worthy to have this opportunity? Am I like, and that's what it really is like this whole feeling of not worthy to be in that role and having to prove your worth and having to prove your value when you are just good enough. They've recognized you in the role. I also think that's important, and I think we've discussed this throughout this entire afternoon, the importance of authenticity and integrity in what you do. People are looking for people that can deliver, but they're looking for people that they can also rely on and trust. Trust is extremely important in the corporate world, and I believe in the business world. I have friends of mine that are entrepreneurs, and I've heard stories of really bad business deals gone bad because, you know, we sometimes, and, you know, I just want to keep it 100 because this is a family conversation. You know, sometimes even the pigmentation, just because we're the same pigmentation does not mean that the person has the same values as you. And so it's extremely important that we all just do a bit of research and also kind of show people through when we say what we mean and we mean what we say, that will show itself through. And as well as reaching out to a leader in your organization that you admire. You know, letting them know, hey, I'm a newbie in this whole management thing, and I've watched you, your career, and you're highly respected. Go to them for some tips, build that relationship, build that authentic relationship. Then that person can, you know, if it is like meant to be, can become that sponsor because of their position, particularly at the top of the organizational structure, to kind of look out for you and to kind of let you know what up and coming organizational or managerial changes are coming about. So that would be my ideal, but most importantly, just stay rooted in knowing that if they've selected you into management, you are worthy, but you have to continue to work hard and also to maintain integrity. Say what you mean and mean what you say.
I love that so much. Say what you mean and mean what you say. That's amazing. Honestly, it looks like we can go all day with all these questions. However, it is time for us to end the session. But before we do, I do want to open the floor to all of our panelists for any closing remarks on anything they want to leave our audience with, whether it's a small tidbit or just a bit of advice. The floor is open to any of our panelists to just say what they mean and mean what they say.
I can go first.
Yeah.
So we talked a lot about mentor sponsorship and everything. And I would say in the corporate world and in entrepreneurial world, your network is your net worth. And this is so true. A good, like an advice that I will give that worked for me is like, when it comes to your network, try to remove yourself from unsupportive network. What I mean by that is, and I've seen a huge difference in what I'm doing right now. I went from being in like a network where people were not supportive to going to another network where we're actually nourishing and helping each other. You will get so many opportunities, so many doors will open. When you give, you receive. So think about like people you surround yourself with, and just remember your network is your network.
I'll just add a one-liner if I can. And we've not spoken about it all day, but longevity is key. If you don't look after yourself, there's not going to be much of you to give to anyone. So your holistic whole self, the spiritual, the physical, the mental, all of that comes into play. Don't crash and burn. Pace yourself, rest, and just make sure that longevity and continuity is always at the forefront. You have to succeed but you have to leave to succeed.
Beautifully said. Alaba, do you have any closing remarks that you just want to add on just before we close?
So I'm just going to say we should all try as much as possible to identify a problem around us and solve it. That way we'll make the world a better place. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful. And what about you, Tapfuma?
Yeah, sure. So, firstly, so much amazing knowledge and wisdom has been shared here. And I would encourage people who are viewing to think about getting in contact with the people on this call. And, you know, as we've been talking about mentorship, and I see a lot of resource here on this actual call. And you know, it might happen, it might not. But the one piece of advice I'd really leave with people seeking mentorship is to be teachable. I don't think enough can be said about that, because when you approach a mentor, you have to be willing to try new approaches, new ways of thinking, new ways of doing things. That's it. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Tapfuma. And Imanzi, if you could just take it away and give us your closing remarks.
Sure, thank you. No, I think definitely a big takeaway is just be open to collaboration. I think this is big. I think that there is enough space for everyone in whatever sort of space and field that you're working in, whatever project that you're wanting to pursue or venture in. There is like enough space, and so, you know, just be open to collaborate. You know, continue to be curious, and then, you know, as what Alibaba was saying, you know, think about the problem and just be problem focused, and then wanting to really provide solutions and just transformational solutions that sort of live longer, you know, than yourselves, right? So yeah, just think about that as you're building your career, building your venture, just being open to collaboration.
Beautifully said. Again, I just want to say great thank you to all our panelists. Thank you for your time, and thank you for this wonderful opportunity to just be able to speak with you and have these conversations. Now, before I pass it to Dr. Olutoyin to close, please do not forget to follow our social media as to keep the conversation going. And also, please connect with all our panelists, especially on LinkedIn. I'm sure you could just search up their names. Thank you again, and I pass it over to Dr. Olutoyin to close the session for us.
Thank you. Thank you so very much, Ife. That was really good. And to all our panelists, I say thank you so much. It's such a joy to have all of you here this afternoon, learning from your wisdom and getting this opportunity to meet with you and connect with you across, you know, different time zones. I noticed a few people, I think it was Kola that said good evening to everybody. So it's still afternoon in Canada. It's 2:30 actually right now. It must be 8:30 in your side of the world. And not sure if Natalie is still here. She dialed in from Cameroon. She joined us from Cameroon. I'm not sure if you can bring her on screen now. So thank you so much to all our panelists. Alaba from Nigeria, Tapfuma, thank you so much, and congratulations, Tapfuma. You're doing us proud. We're so proud of you on your new appointment as the managing director. I saw that. All right. Thank you so much. To Jacqueline from the government of Ontario as a senior advisor, economic advisor to the government of Canada and the Office of the Small Businesses, Imanzi. Kola, the global HR manager in charge of Africa, Middle East, and Europe for Oceaneering. Hemin, the founder of B for Brand. Thank you so very much. And Alaba, not only are you from Nigeria, we see all the work you're doing in the media with Business Africa Online. It's such a pleasure, it's such a joy, not only to interact with you, but to engage with you from time to time in the journey of entrepreneurship and support systems within our community. We call you our tribe, people from our tribe, not just culturally, remember, but from the ecosystems of support that we've been able to foster. And to Ife too. Thank you so, so very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I would say this afternoon that the link will be sent out so you can share with your friends And you can go through this entire panel sessions again. To all of those ones watching on the various channels created for this afternoon session, YouTube, LinkedIn, I'm not sure if YouTube and LinkedIn, I would say some of the questions that you're asking that have not been taken, please know that we will come back to you. So we'll collect some of those questions again, because I understand we still have a few. We'll come back to you somehow, because the chat room will be left open for a bit, maybe till the end of today or till Monday, since this is a weekend. So some of our panelists will give us some time to answer some of those questions specifically. We would have, in terms of the 221 million, that was a specific question. We will have a session on that as soon as we hear from the federal government as to when exactly the modalities is released for disbursements, because that's a loan fund. And so the criteria and all of those will be shared on the government website, and we will actually call for a session when that time comes. Once again, this afternoon, I'm just going to wrap it up by saying, in the journey of entrepreneurship, critical factors remain, as has been said over and over: mentorship, sponsorship, partnerships, and networking. All of these facilitate, they have a way of fast tracking the process, fast tracking the journey. One person will lead you to another, perhaps 10 people will lead you to 5 more. In some cases, you have 2 more people actually leading you to 10 more. And so it's a whole network, it's a web. One connection leads to the other. So the more connections you have, the faster the journey might become. It's imperative that we look at that from time to time as young entrepreneurs starting out in the journey of business. The same also goes for grants. The same goes for resources in terms of partnerships, the board members, the advisors that we're looking to have or to attract to our board. They are all investors in the business that we do and in the business that we're looking to do or that we already do. All of these are investing time. It's not just capital. It's time. It's the relationship, and it's the connections and the networks that they already have access to. It's easier for us to move far ahead in the journey of entrepreneurship when you have all of these resources around us, well cultivated, well honed. It's very, very important. I just thought I'd leave that as a wrap-up, final comments this afternoon. Thank you so much, and let's all enjoy the rest of the weekend. Thank you.